in-house consultant. Uh, we want to ensure that in-house consultant attend the training program. They would be productive enough so that we can place them immediately into the project. So these kind of standards are being followed. So that's a brief about the training program. I'll walk you through with how we're going to learn the complete life cycle implementation of Cognos. Because I've been an architect and into project management, and I've grown up from developer, senior developer, architect, and project management for entire line of business. So I know the complete life cycle. I'll walk you through. Training would be kind of sharing of knowledge, then just walking through the PPT. So before I proceed, working in business intelligence means you should have a good blend or right nature of understanding business data and technology. When we work in a project like Java, .NET, we are a little more inclined towards the business. We are more inclined, or we know more about, we are more focused about technology. But when you work in business intelligence report, you are more focused about business. You are equally focused about business and the database and technology, right? Because the people like us, business intent developer, more often communicate with the business user. We should understand the terminology, definitions, the keyword, the way they think, and the success of the project is greatly depends upon how closely and how better we understand business. So let's talk about the life cycle implementation. So reporting is not all about drag and drop and prepare report. It is certain, it's an art, and it is also a science. It has to follow in certain order. Over the period of time of many implementations, some fail, some successful, some partially fail. We got to know there are certain life cycle management supposed to be followed in order to ensure that report success can be achieved to the greater extent, right? So any reporting development product start with certain life cycle. In case you get an opportunity to work any BI reporting solution right from beginning, you follow all the steps. However, if you get an opportunity to work in any reporting project as support resource or as an enhancement, you may need to pick up some of the things from the beginning. So initial first steps, you may not be directly involved into that. The senior developer or project managers or stakeholder of the organization involved into the whole process. So you see the first part of the life cycle implementation says, regardless of whatever product you work for IBM, Cognos, Oracle product, or any product. You do business and IT requirement, you gather requirement, what exactly needed in a double course. I would say I need a reporting solution for my business. And what is the nature of business? Well, I sell food and beverages. Maybe my business I sell clothes. So what is your business and what do you want to achieve? We put in a double quotes. I want my business to be streamlined. I want to make use of my resources optimally. Therefore, I need a business intelligence report. So it starts with a single line statement. I want my organization to be structured. Then what are your priorities? Maybe your business is pretty big, but you like to encompass, or you like to frame your all process. Out of all process, you want your business intent to be implemented in finance, right? You think this is the area which has plenty of scope to grow, plenty of scope to simplify the process and streamline the process. I want to start implementing business intelligence in my financial department, or maybe I want to implement business intelligence in healthcare, in supply chain management. I find my supply chain management pretty bad. So we start with, then we specify the project plan, what timelines, how many resources, what hardware, what kind of software, how many people are required, what kind of appropriate process you should follow, and everything. Then you do a resource plan. So under project plan only, you do the resource planning. You say I've got only 500 users who are going to use my business intelligence report, right? So accordingly you plan it. How many users you have, what kind of data they need. Do they need 24/7? What is the nature of your data? Do they need access of 24/7 of the business data? All my data, how critical it is. Some of the important questions are being answered during this phase. Right? This first phase is more often done by your project manager, managers, and it is done by your stakeholder of the organization. and detailed design. Now you may be involved in detailed design phase, depends upon what kind of technical role you are playing there. So the first step which you see over here, which is done by data modeler, called logical data modeling. It could be logical and physical data modeling. So when you design data warehousing solution, you also estimate how much data you need, what nature of data you need, what piece of data you need, what department data you need, how it is to be organized, present, to make it meaningful. Data modeling, it's a whole new world. I mean, it's a big world where you place your data in a certain order. A simplest way of data, maybe I decide to design my data. I want to implement my model in sales analytics. So data model could look like this way. Sales analytics may in turn consist of sales data, product, promotion, customer, distribution channel. So how data is organized. In a typical relational model, data is represented in terms of relational tables. Right? It is not essentially working relational model also, because the data is very unstructured these days. It may come from people's object, it may come from social networking sites like Facebook, LinkedIn and all. So the traditional data warehousing model we used to follow may not be appropriate in current scenario. But typically data come from relational sources. How data is organized logically, what are the relationships, what piece of information is appropriate. This is all question data modeler does. As Cognos report developer, we also play an important role in designing data model. We work as a bridge between business and the data. Right? So some sort of data, logic data modeling we do in Framework Manager. That's what I said. We have a pretty detailed 16 session about Framework Manager design. The second task is done by an ETL developer, that is called extract, transform and load. They ensure the right piece of data available from source system. For example, one of my source system is called social networking sites. Social networking. I like to capture my customer feedback, customer review, or we place a survey how people like my services, how people like my product. We put into the Facebook and I want to capture data from there. It is unstructured data. It may be text, it may be images. We have a structured data in RDBMS. So challenges are more than as compared to previous days. Volume data is high. More users are using. So in ETL process, we pull data from different sources, maybe structured, semi-structured, unstructured, and put it to a common place. We do all the we deal with all data inconsistency issues like data scrubbing, data cleansing, all we do. Maybe you ask people to put the review about your product or review about your services in Facebook. Some people insert a jump character, special character, and so all these require to be cleaned up before data reports are recognized, reports are prepared. Anything bad happen over here is visible in your reporting part. Now, actually being a report developer, you do the role number 3. You do the report designing and analysis. This is all we do in detailed design phase. What detailed design phase? We prepare a report mock-up. Report designing is, I show you the mock-up over here. Report mock-up is like a sample reports. How a report would look like? You may have a requirement in terms of snapshots. If you're pretty lucky, you may have a requirement like this. In my case, my requirements are in snapshot or pictures. They have been using an Excel based reports. Right? And they want it to be more interactive, more user friendly, more meaningful. So that they ask us to rebuild the same reporting model in a more professional tool like Cognos. So we prepare a report mock-up. Report mock-up comes with certain parameters. It is not blindly we prepare a report and give it to the user. So I show one of my requirement over here, which is submitted to my client. I make it more glossy and colorful to make it attractive. Naturally, it was not so colorful when submitted to client. So you see primarily what it has. It considers the requirement. What is line of statement? What people need it. Business user need top 10 retailer listening. Right? So it's a exact requirement. Then in what format report should be displayed? I want report to be displayed in a tabular format. I want the report to also be displayed in terms of charts. So presentation of your data, requirement presentation of your data. And then we talk about what is source of data, from where we are going to bring the data, what table or dimension, what facts. All these keywords, if you find it alien to you and quite new to you, we would share across self-learning videos where you learn about all of them. So all dimension and facts are being identified in the second process. You also identify your respective keys, primary keys, column and all. So dimension fact, then you look at your whole enterprise data model. Basically data model is pretty huge in the real world. You take a subset of this and identify what information you need, from where do you need, what is appropriate source. It may possible there are multiple sources of same data. It may possible. So I have shown over here to make it simple. I highlighted the facts and table from where we need to fetch the data. We also should know about the keys, joins and source. Then we go nail down and talk about what the data hierarchy. Then we talk about that is called your physical data details. Okay, physical data details. This consists of your data sources. What are your data sources? It is RDBMS, semi-structured data source. Where is your server exists? What is IP address and blah blah blah. What kind of storage is being used? How people should communicate to your report. We prepare a user input form. We also specify who are going to access my report, and finally information supply. So when you go for a report developer job, people may also ask you, when you design, what kind of report you design, what was the source of it. There's some common question they ask you. Now this wireframe help you to understand and address all these questions step by step. So this is what we do in the report designing phase, detailed designing phase. The actual development process follow. In our learning, we'll follow exactly the same methodology. We will go with the assumption that certain requirements are already being captured, and then go by detailed design and development. Development, as I said, you identify your infrastructure setup, what hardware, what server you need, what operating system, how much memory, the server specification, number of users based on your number of sessions, nature of data, complexity of data, nature of access. You identify your infrastructure setup. You also specify what database is appropriate. In case you need a transactional data, Oracle works well. In case you need very high volume data, then you go for Teradata. Then you specify what tool or method you use for data extraction from various sources. What are your sources? In what language are they? In what currency are they? What compliance are they? Right? If the data is stored in multiple geographical location, they use in different currency, different compliance. All has to be addressed. As we are a report developer, we do not involve directly into any one of this process, at least in ETL process. And infra setup also we do not. We are more focused about report designing life cycle. So our work start post ETL process, where you identify what reports to be designed, what kind of analysis is required to be done, and then typical testing process work. The testing process, people often, being a report developer, often ignore and say this is not their job. I tell you, the report testing has the biggest life cycle. The time spent by the organization in testing is a maximum compared to other kind of solution, because the report is a final view to your high-end user, your CFO department, your CEO department, CTO department. It gives a complete view of your business. Therefore, testing and accuracy of data is at most important. So we have a UAT called user accepted test as part of our implementation process. The UAT timelines are greatest. It gives the time you give for development, at least 1/3 time is given for UAT. We give adequate time to our users so they understand, look at the data, look at the report template format, and accordingly we go. And finally implementation go up. So as if you work as a report developer, your job starts from here to here. You do actively involve into whole testing process. If you're working as a senior, maybe as an architect, you also participate with this process. If you're working as a project manager, naturally you depends upon the kind of experience you have, how much you're involved into the whole process. You may be participating in the whole process. Right? So that's a brief life cycle which all reporting tools follow. Cognos does follow it. This is a graphical presentation I wanted to show you, and I also wanted to show you what are different product of Cognos play made to this sit into the whole model. So reporting is all about, in one word. Reporting, you are quite familiar with the reporting term. It's nothing new to you. You have been seeing the reporting right from your childhood. When you were a child, you used to get a report card or a score card of your school, of your what marks you obtained, which subject. You get a card, right? The performance card or report card. Your life starts with reporting from that day onwards. So the performance card or report card which you get in your school, that was the first interface, the first interaction with the reporting. You start, and then throughout of your life you communicate, you have been dealing with reports, but you never observe in a proper structured way. So the first report which you see in your life, in your kindergarten you get a scorecard. Reporting is same thing. It talks about business data in a more elegant, meaningful way. So I can take up some important decisions. So what life cycle input, the arrow shows the input is taken from business and IT, then it go through multiple levels. You see it is divided in two layers. Reporting is basically done in twofold. The first we'll talk about modeling, data modeling. It may be considered logical data modeling, physical or semantic. When I say logical data modeling, when I say term logical, in one simple view it's called views in your database view. Now, why do we need a logical model? Do we really need it or not? Or do we do not need? It's a big question. It can be answered as part of a data model design. I can give you a simplest example. If you look at my data model, in this data model, do I need a logical modeling? I say yes. My model is a snowflake model. I like to denormalize this model and join country and customer as a single table or single dimension. It becomes a single dimension, and my model turns out to be a logical model. So snowflake model turns out to be a star schema where I denormalize two dimension to a single dimension. This becomes a LDM or logical data modeling. This is a simple and silliest example of logical data modeling. It could be more complicated, depends upon the nature of data modeling. So you need a logical data modeling. Then on top of logical data modeling, you need physical data modeling. This is not a waterfall model. It may work the other way around as well. You may have physical data model as well. Physical data model may be your organization has data for finance, HR, procurement, different segments of data you have, but you like to focus on one part of it. Right? So maybe physical data modeling can also talk about denormalization, cleansing of data, reorganization, filtering. There could be many causes you need a physical data model. I can give you some simple reason where you need a physical data model. Many cases. So I can say I need physical data model. What kind of questions I'm answering over here? I'm doing a first filtering of data. Why do you need to filter? A simple example, I have a table over here called product history. Right. Product history table maintain data for 20 years. I come to your question, let me complete. Product history have data for 20 years, and it has information which may not be needed directly now. I have a column called product status. We say they are product or active or retired product. For my business, my BI reporting need, I want on display only active product. Naturally, I don't need this data. I don't need retired data, retired product. display only active product. So I can write a where clause when I'm preparing physical model called product status is prod status equal to active. Right? Before you pull it into reporting system, you can design this model. So if I show in one simple line from your different disparate data sources, you pull data to your you want to design a reporting model. In between reporting, you place a LDM called logical data model, and you place PDM, or you place both of them, logical data model and physical data model both, before preparing a report. So you see, we need a physical data modeling, logical data modeling. We do also need a semantic model. Semantic model, we do a modeling. Any reporting tool in the world requires does a semantic model. Cognos, MicroStrategy, Clipio, Tableau, Oracle OPA, everybody does a semantic model. Semantic model is called framework manager. In one simple word, when you pull metadata from different sources, it may not be feasible, may not be possible, may not be convenient to build a logical data model on top of your source system. Therefore, when you pull metadata, enter your metadata in your reporting layer itself, you do logical data modeling, and then you prepare report. A common example of this, in case you're working enterprise warehouse model, in enterprise data warehousing, enterprise data warehouse may have data for multiple subjects. I may have data for finance, I may have data for procurement, different segments, HR, but we are building a solution called HR analytics, and therefore I need data for only HR department. So my enterprise warehouse has data for all the departments. I'll cut a subset of this. When I prepare a reporting layer, I'll consider this aspect and design a semantic layer. Semantic layer, if I say, is exactly like a logical data modeling. It's exactly like a logical data modeling. This is just inside your report. How it is going to be exactly, we'll see as we go further. Semantic metadata model is, in Cognos point of view, is called framework manager. If you are from different programming background, if you work from Oracle, it is called RPT and OBI. In business object, I worked long back, we call universe. So all reporting tools do have this term, the way to do the modeling. And you see, on top of model, your presentation layer or information consume layer work. So two part called one for data logical data presentation, logical data organization and data presentation. In 2 steps we do. So we first see how to pull data from different sources with a logical model, and we use various techniques and methodology to present data. See, this is also, there are different kind of presentation is being shown over here. If I logically divide the presentation layer, it works. The kind of reports we have in industry, the different terms are being used. Reporting type. Okay. The first kind of reporting was self-service report, self-service or CAN report. Now imagine when you buy a mobile, you do not need a specific, maybe you buy a best mobile, best smartphone, but you do not need a specific training to use it. It's pretty easy, the interface is easy so that you can operate it well. Self-service report is based on same concept and CAN report, where people, your business user can quickly drag and drop and they can report on their own. So all the business data you need, you don't need a specific training, a specific technical training. Naturally you should know about business data, you select your respective metadata, you drag and drop and prepare report on your own. Because self-service report. The more self-service report we support, the cost of implementation and more adaptability. It is opening. So how is whatever data I need, whatever kind of reports I need, I pick up the report, type select the required metadata, drag and drop and process. It is done. Called self-service report. As a report developer, our job is to facilitate self-service reporting. Self-service reporting designed for business analyst. It is designed for business analyst, the users. We do have another category of report, view-only reports, or we have reports. We have interactive with dashboards. Dashboard like your car dashboard, where you can see everything in your one common panel through which you can operate everything. So dashboard requirement also we get from the client. The client says, I want whole business information in one window. Sorry. This is a classic example of dashboard you see in my screen. All business information we compact into one window, right? So when my CEO log into the dashboard, he could quickly see all the required information quickly in a one glance. So that's another kind of dashboard. Dashboard could be interactive. Maybe I want my dashboard should react on my click. I can change the years. I can change the product line of business. So it depends upon my selection. The dashboard may react or change or behave. So then you have a self-service reporting interactive dashboard. It could be analytical dashboard as well. We also have a category of report called statutory reporting. When you work in some financial domain, insurance, there are various reporting compliance, right? So according to reporting compliance, prepare reports. There are very high standard of preparing report. Like I show you, we have a financial reporting. So you see the presentation of report. It looks simple and silly to you, but it makes a big difference when you present your report. Graphically, also in what format report should come, because they are bound with compliance, they are bound with certain standards which ought to be followed. So different reporting have different compliance. There are statutory reporting, CAM reporting. We also have a opposite of statutory reporting. We also call a term called management reporting. Free form. Free form. You are the king of your own world. You can prepare the report the way you like. It doesn't follow certain standards. Statutory reporting follows standards like IFRS reporting, International Financial Reporting Standard. Different we have a reporting for different kind of reporting for insurance sector, automobile industry. So the more you know about business, the better report you design for the respective solution. And so these, as report developer, my job is to facilitate business so that they can prepare a report on their own. This is what we do at the last of. Finally, when we prepare a report template, there's a pretty huge list of all the checklists which my business users have given to me. They prepare and get back to them. How your report should look like, we would like to prepare a checklist, and we want to ensure that your business user communicate to you and fill this checklist, and this ensure the expectations are met. You must have heard about in the early days of business in data warehousing, the project, the percent of project failure was very high. 60-70% project used to fail in data warehousing. One of the major reasons, the language barrier. Language barrier, the communication gap. The way business think in their own vocabulary. We think in a technical language. So miscommunication, misunderstanding of requirement is one of the major reasons where the project fails. If somebody asks you to prepare a report in automobile industry, it may be pretty difficult for you because you don't know the definition, you don't know the language, you don't know the business process flow. In order to ensure that we come up with a basic checklist. This is a checklist you submit to the client. Pretty simple report: name, title, report body, how they are to be presented, precision, data format, column, row heading, color, background color. All these things, it may be a simple thing for you, it may be simple, silly thing, but it makes a difference. Paging number and all. Certain standard followed. This checklist to be submitted to the user. I'll also share across the way it is given to the user and get it filled. Specification and documentation. When you work in report development, you do a lot of documentation part as well, right? Because this documentation is being used by your business user on one hand, it is being used by your Data modeler, which is being used by ETL team to communicate back and forth. So how report template? I shown you report template called report mockup. Before you prepare an actual report, you prepare a report mockup, give it to the business user, take an official sign off. What is the interaction list? How people are going to communicate with you? Checkbox, radio button, how they are going to communicate. They have an interaction checklist. Interaction checklist could be simple. I would create a report by drag and drop my objects, and I want when people click on this, it should drill down or should go to the next level. Right? So it is simple. Interaction, click on this, you click on the next level. Or it could be more advanced. In our example, it is uninteractive report. When you click on this, nothing happens. On this behavior, this is default behavior. Like I can further go down and change the behavior of this report, and I say I want this report should be redirect on my mouse click. It should drill down. All this question also be answered, and then you detail documentation. So well, these are the product. We are running short of time, so I'd like to close it over here. You can watch my more videos about product introduction. There are different component Cognos has, query studio, report studio, analysis, and all this. So these are the components we are going to talk about in a training program in a step-by-step manner. For now, because we are running a little short of time, I'm going to stop over here and open for your question. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel to know more about Cognos, the product lifecycle roadmap,